Hello Steelers, and welcome to this video in which I'm going to go through how to put together a force for Chain of Command. Now you may know that this is my favourite war game out there, but I recently saw that Stig Kelly over at Little Legions had done a video on Chain of Command as well. It was kind of off the back of the review that I did of Chain of Command. So I thought I'd expand a little bit on Chain of Command itself. I've done a couple of other videos here and there. I suggest you go and check out Stig's video, and also just check out his channel as well. It's a very good channel, he's a really good painter. So go and check him out, Little Legions. I'll put a link in the description down below anyway, so go and check that guy out and give him a few more subs. But what I thought I'd do is just have a look at how you put together a basic force in Chain of Command, because there's a few little nuances in it which are really nice, which just make things very interesting. But to somebody who is used to let's say your normal war game where you might just build a force with a bunch of points, like you might have 500 points for this game, so you just basically put things together. You don't do that with Chain of Command. You start with a core platoon and then you add to that, and that's basically the way it works for all of the forces in the game. In the actual rules themselves, you've got forces for Germany, Britain, Soviets, and also for the USA as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the Germans in particular here, because I've just got some setup that we've been playing with, and I'll just talk about how that force is assembled, what the units are, and also, you know, if there's any anomalies or anything like that, and then also how you actually spend force points and how you arrive at your force supports, so you can work out exactly what you'll be using in the game. So what we'll do is we'll get this table set up again. I'll change the camera angles, we'll have a look, and I'll get the Panzer Grenadiers out of their hidey hole over there, and we'll talk through it and see. Hopefully this will give you a few ideas about how this works. Okay, so over here I have my platoon. So these are already set out. I'm going to go through this in a bit of detail in a second. This is on one of my platoon sheets. I will put a link to my Google Drive that's got these platoon sheets in them. This is actually a 1943 Panzer Grenadier platoon sheet, but for our examples here I'm just going to use it because it's very similar to a 1944 one. You'll see why slightly, well, I can tell you now, it's the Panzer Schreck is the slight difference between this and the 1943 one, because they didn't exist in 1943. But this is just a nice easy aid memoir for me when I'm playing a game, just so I know which units is which and where everybody is and how many men there are in each of the different teams. So you can see automatically it's broken down into teams as it is. So you can print these out. I just stuck these onto some 5mm thick foam card, cut out the boxes, then mounted it on some thicker card on the bottom, so it can easily be transported. But over here we have the rules themselves. So what we'll do is we'll jump right through to Germany. So it falls open there on the German page. So this is the German list area that we're looking at the moment, and this is what we're going to go through for this video. I'm going to be concentrating on the German ones, as I said, because I just got these ready. So this is a 1944 platoon list, so we've got a little bit of an introduction here to the actual the force we're going to be using, and then we have different types of forces, so you've got a choice within the forces themselves. So the first one is just a normal infantry platoon, and you can either have this either as a regular or as a green unit, and it also tells you how many command dice you'll be using at the start of the game, so 5 for the infantry platoon. And then it gives you this little layout here, which is the actual platoon structure. Over the page we have, I'll just move that to one side there, we have over here, we've got a Panzer Grenadier platoon, which we're going to have a look at in a second. These come as either regular or elite, and again their command dice is 5. Then we also have a Fallschirmjäger platoon as well, and they have an elite or a regular, and again depending on which one you take gives you command dice for either regulars or 6 for elite. We've also got the German national characteristics. All the Germans get these. So they have Maschinengewehr, which is basically they get to fire extra dice if they are being directed by their senior leader or even their junior leader, and then Handgranaten, which is an attack into close combat as well. Then over here we got the support lists, and we are going to talk about these in a bit more detail, so we're not going to look at those just yet. We're going to jump back to our basic formation here. So as I say, we're looking at a basic platoon. You always get this. Doesn't cost you anything in points. You will just start with this. You decide if you're going to be, in this case in the Panzer Grenadiers, either regular or elite. Then we've got the force structure here, and then we've also got a couple of extra little rules that may come into it. So for example, it says elite Panzer Grenadiers are aggressive troops. If your Panzer Grenadiers select a half-track support, they will use a third rifleman from the 1st LMG team as a driver. So they're the little extra rules that you've got for the Panzer Grenadiers. So how is a Panzer Grenadier platoon made up? Well, we come back to this point, and this tells us here. So first of all, we have a platoon headquarters, and you can see here in the first one, this is a lieutenant. He's a senior leader with a machine pistol, so an MP40, and this is the guy here. In the 1944 list, this is an Unterfeldwebel. Same thing basically. It makes no difference in the game terms. He's still a level 3 leader, and he will activate on the roll of a 4 on a dice. In the platoon headquarters in 1944, they also have a Panzerschreck team, which has got a 2-man crew. So this is a Panzerschreck team here, so a 2-man crew, 2 models to make up that crew. Then we have 3 squads, 1 to 3. These are led by an Obergefreiter. This is the junior leader, armed with a machine pistol. He also has 2 Panzerfausts, which he can then distribute amongst the rest of the section, if that's what he wants. And then we also have 2 LMG teams. Because these are Panzer Grenadiers, they've got a lot of firepower. So they've got 2 MG42s with them. Again, these ones are from 43. So yeah, these have got MG42s as well with them, you can see in here. And what it tells you here is, so it says MG42. This is where sometimes a lot of people get confused with chain of command, with the what the numbers mean. So it says MG42, 2 crew, 3 riflemen. The second one, you'll notice, says MG42, 2 crew, 2 riflemen. So the MG42 is actually 2 crews. It's not, that's the weapon itself, and then you also get 2 crews. So it's not 3 characters, 3 figures. It's only 2 figures. So that's the man and the other guy helping him fire it. So that's 2, and then we also get 3 riflemen. Sorry, I've got these the wrong way around here, but that's just because, again, these are 1943 ones, not 1944. So we basically have our 2 crew for the MG42, and then over here we have 3 riflemen. Our 2 crew for the MG42 and 2 riflemen. So in total, our section is made up of 10 men. So 4 in this team, 5 in this team, and then the Obergefreiter as well. So 10 in total. Now these are the 2 teams, so when you're rolling your dice and you're rolling a 1, you can operate one of these. If you're rolling 2, you can operate both teams because they're operating as a section. If you roll a 3, you can then use your Obergefreiter with a level 2, and he can do whatever it is he wants to do, reduce shock or get these 2 to do 2 different things, 2 different teams. So that's kind of how it works really. It's a relatively simple way of just of separating your sections into teams. Now the other forces, let's just jump ahead here. So the British one, here's a British one here. These are slightly different, so their platoon headquarters are slightly bigger. I'm not going to go through every one of them because they're all slightly different. I just want to show you as an example here the difference. So the British platoon starts with a lieutenant, senior leader. It also has a platoon sergeant, another senior leader, so that's 2 senior leaders for the British. They also then have a Piat team with 2 men, so that would be 2 men there armed with a Piat, and then also a 2-inch mortar with 2 men. However, their sections 1 to 3 are much not smaller, but they're less firepower coming out, and they only have a Bren team, an LMG team, and a rifle team. The Bren team, once again, he says Bren gun, 3 crew. That's not 4 figures, that's just 3 figures, the 3 crew. So they make up, they're holding, 2 of them are carrying ammunition, 1 of them is firing the gun. Then they have 6 riflemen. So in total, 9 other ranks, and then also a corporal to lead them as a junior leader. So similar in size to the Germans, but less firepower in total. Alright, so let's just jump back then. So let's find our scenarios. So here are our scenarios. We basically start of the game, you roll the dice, see which scenario you're going to play, and then each one of these are detailed in a bit more information on the actual scenario page itself. So let's just have a look now at scenario 1, the patrol. Very simple. It tells you all about the patrol phase. It tells you about where you're going to be putting your patrol markers, how many you actually have as well as part of the game, and how many jump off points you're going to put on the table as well. One thing that you do with Chain of Command is you wait until you have played through you set up the table and also play through the patrol phase as well before you choose your supports. So you can kind of see what kind of ground you're going to be fighting over, and then you can tailor your supports to that. Other games, a lot of other war games just expect that you will turn up with X amount of points and then just plonk those on the table. Chain of Command slightly different in that you will, as a commander would do, they would be giving out assets at various levels depending on what the mission was at the time. So each of these sections in the scenarios has a force support box here. So let me just go through it here. We've got the introduction, just explains what the game is. They've got the patrol phase, which tells you, as I said, how many patrol markers you have, how many jumping off points you have. And then it's also got the force support as well here. And then finally just the objective, just how to win this particular scenario. Looking at this one in particular, we've got, it says force support, roll 1d6. On the roll of 1 or 2, both sides may select support from list 1, amended depending on relative platoon strength ratings. We'll go back to that. On a roll of 3 or 4, they may select support from list 2. On a roll of 5 or 6, list 3 is used. Neither side may use entrenchments, static defences, or a preliminary barrage as their choices. So that's the basic one. As you'll see, we'll go through. Let's have a look at some other ones. This is the probe. The attacker rolls a d6, the roll indicating what level of support he can select. So 1 to 6. The defender takes support with a list of half of that value, rounding down any odd numbers. So they would have a maximum of 3 support points there. And then again, just a few extra things about what they can and can't choose. Here, in the attack and defend, the attacker rolls 2d6 with a total indicating the number of support, with results of 11 or 12 also counting as 10. So you could go all the way up to 10 support points, and then once again the defender takes half of that. Same again here for the delaying action. What else have we got? This one here. Same again here for the flank attack. Attack on an objective is the same again. So these ones, the basically scenarios 3 onwards, allow you to have much more support, but they're slightly more complicated scenarios in just in their setup and in their objectives as well. So it's just allowing you a bit more flexibility. The basic ones are the patrol and the probe, and these are the ones where you are only rolling 1d6 for your force support, or a d3 actually, and then 1d6. So as it goes along through the scenarios, you get more support. Just to give you an idea. So this again, it's not something you would normally find in other games where you have a fixed amount of points. So like you might have 500 points for the game, both of you, or one might have 750, one might have 500. In this, it's really down to the dice rolls. But you do have that slight bit of balance in that the defender takes half of whatever the attacker has got, so it's not too unbalanced. There are some scenarios in some of the pint-sized campaigns where both sides will get different amounts of support, roll different dice for the support, and it's all tailored really to the specific scenario, which is what Chain of Command is all about. It's a scenario-driven game for sure. Alright, so what does all this mean really? We've got these support points and we've got these numbers now. So what we have to do is we have to work out the relative value between the two forces that we are fighting with. So let's say we're taking our Panzer Grenadier platoon. We look at the platoon force rating. Regular, it says here, +1. Elite is a +7. Now let's just say, for the sake of argument, we are playing a game against a Great British motor platoon. Why not? These have a force rating of -2. That's just because they do. That's serious. The reason for that really is because the rifle team is smaller than their normal team, because they're being carried in carriers. So they generally just they're starting with fewer barrels basically. So theirs is a -2. So we look at the difference between the force rating. So the regulars of the Panzer Grenadiers is +1 against a motor platoon of -2. So there's a difference of 3 there. So what you do is you roll your dice as mentioned in the scenario. So let's say we're doing our patrol here, and we roll the dice. Where are we? It says roll of 1 or 2, they get a 1, so it's basically a D3. 3 or 4, they get 2. 5 or 6, they get 3. So let's say we've rolled a 5 for the Germans. So that ends up they now have 6. They have 3 for their force supports. Then they can take they both roll them. So let's say the Germans have a 3. So that is just going to be their basic. The British, on the other hand, they roll and they roll a 4. So they end up with 2 force supports. But because of the difference between the Panzer Grenadiers being a +1 and then being a motor platoon of -2, they actually get +2 onto that. So what did we say they had? We said they had 2, so we add on to that. So they now have 5 for their force support, whereas the Germans still only have their 3. So that's basically how it works. It just works out the difference between the two forces, and you add and take away those multiplications. So, for example, if we were using a British regular platoon, just an infantry platoon, they're regular, they start with 0. The Germans still are on +1, so the British would get an extra 1 on theirs. So instead of having what we said it was last time, a +3, they get a +1 this time. So you can see the difference between the two, and that's how it works. The next thing to do then is we actually choose our our supports themselves, and we do that from these lists. And you can see we've got list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11, all the way up to 11. The different forces have different levels of support, but most of them there's quite a few that are crossover. So things like the medical orderly, for example, adjutant, minefields, barbed wires, entrenchments, stuff like that is everybody can use, is generally at the same cost, whichever force you're using, especially in the basics anyway here. Now, we said that the Germans have got 3 points to spend, so they can spend up to list 3. And the list is the cost, the individual cost. So they could take one thing from list 3. So that could be a Pioneer Flamethrower team with 3 men, a sniper team, an SDKFZ 251 with no weapons, Green Infantry Squad with a junior leader. So that's another extra junior squad on top of what they've got. So that would make 4. Or an SDKFZ 250 with a 4-man reconnaissance team as well. So that would cost them all of their points, and they'd only be able to take one of those things. They could, however, split it up and then spend some of those points on other things as well. So they could actually choose 3 things off list 1 if they wanted to. So, for example, they could have a medical orderly, they could have an adjutant and a minefield, as long as they're allowed it in the scenario notes. Or they could take one thing from list 1 and one thing from list 2, as long as it adds up to 3. And goes no further. So you can see, if you're rolling that D10, as we said, the 2D6 up to 10, you could then choose anything up to list 10, basically. This, again, would change if you were using, for example, a regular platoon against, let's have a look, an airborne platoon. A British airborne platoon, an elite. I think this has been changed actually. Just to note, this is a change that Rich has made. The platoon, the airborne platoon, shouldn't be elite. But let's just use these as an example in this. So they've got a +8. So let's say that the Germans started their game with 10 force supports. They could then potentially get another +8 on top of that. So they could have up to 18. So that would be everything up to list 11 plus some more, so you'd have to change these things around. And also the other thing as well, these are not they're not individual. You can buy as many of these as you like, unless it is very specific and says so in the rules or the scenario itself, but pretty much you could buy anything. So you could, if you wanted to, with our 3 points, to go back to the earlier example, we could actually buy 3 barbed wires if we wanted to, or 3 minefields. We could get 3 adjutants. There's not much point. You only need 1, because he's the man who's just pushing people onto the table when if your senior leader has got on the table. Adjutants are always a good thing for the Germans because they have very few senior leaders. But some of them, obviously, you don't need to have multiple of them, but sometimes you might want to have multiple of them. So, for example, like a pre-game barrage, there's only one. You may as well only have 1, because it's only going to have 1 effect. You can have multiple sniper teams, which I've considered, because they are good. So that's basically how it works, really, with that, with the whole idea of the force support. You roll your dice, you find out how many support you have, and then you just take them off these lists. And the good thing about Chain of Command in particular is the fact that each scenario that you will play is tailored. Each pint-sized campaign is tailored. So the support list in here does not carry on onto a pint-sized campaign, for example. They will have very specific, campaign-specific supports that are available. They may cost different things depending on how rare or how frequently they're available for your particular side. So this is a way that you are able to move these things about. They are movable feasts as much as anything else. And that, again, just as far as I'm concerned, just shows why Chain of Command is such a good game. But it just gives you a lot more depth and breadth to play with while you're actually playing the game as well. Okay, I think that probably wraps up all I can say about the force supports in Chain of Command. If you've got any questions, do leave them in the comments down below, of course. If you've enjoyed this video, do hit that like button, of course, and share it with anybody who you think might benefit from this little instructional video. And I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have done, please do check out the rest of the videos, the Chain of Command videos that are on the rest of the channel. Check out the other videos as well that are on the channel. It's all there for you, all for free, and there's plenty of stuff to go and check out. And I will see you in the next Storm of Steel video.